I was scrolling through my phone last night, and I noticed I had 47 unread texts, and most of them were from group chats where people were sending memes or asking if I saw the game or tagging me in something dumb, and I realized I hadn't had a real conversation with another human being in 6 days. Not a text, not a comment, an actual conversation where two people sit across from each other and talk about something that matters. 6 days. And I have what most people would call a full social life because I have group chats and I have followers and I have people who like my posts and show up to my birthday. But somewhere along the way, I stopped having friends and started having an audience. We're living in a paradox right now, and it's that we are more connected than any generation in human history, and at the same time, we are starving for actual friendship. You have hundreds of people who see your updates, hundreds of followers and likes and tags, but do you have one person who sees you? Not the version of you that shows up in a photo dump. You, the actual, unfiltered, occasionally boring, sometimes messy version of you. I think a lot of us are in the same spot, and we don't want to say it out loud because it sounds pathetic, and nobody wants to admit that they have 300 contacts in their phone, and nobody to call at 2 in the morning when something goes wrong. But that's the reality for a huge chunk of people right now. And it's not because we're broken or unlikable. It's because the entire structure of how we connect with people has changed underneath us, and most of us never noticed it happening. Here's the thing nobody tells you about why this happened. Friendship used to be a byproduct of proximity, and you grew up on the same street as someone, or you went to the same school, or you worked the same job for 20 years, and friendship just happened because you were around each other constantly, with nothing else pulling your attention away. There's a researcher named Jeffrey Hall who found it takes roughly 50 hours of time together to go from acquaintance to casual friend, and around 200 hours to become a close friend. And think about the last time you spent 200 hours with anyone who wasn't your partner or a coworker you're forced to sit next to. We don't have that kind of shared time anymore because we work from home or we work jobs where everyone clocks out and disappears into their own apartment. And we moved away from the towns we grew up in, and we swapped the corner bar and the church basement and the bowling league for a feed that gives us the feeling of connection without any of the hours required to build it. You can watch someone's entire day on a story and laugh at their jokes and feel like you know them and never once spend real time in a room with them. And that's not friendship, that's parasocial familiarity. And your brain can't always tell the difference, which is exactly the problem. I think about this distinction a lot, the difference between solitude and loneliness. Loneliness is a hunger. It's what happens when you're surrounded by people but invisible to all of them. Solitude is something else entirely. It's the ability to sit alone with yourself, honestly, without needing to perform for anyone, including yourself. And here's the uncomfortable part. If you have no real friends right now, it's often not because people don't like you, it's because you haven't figured out how to be alone with yourself first. And you're so afraid of your own solitude that you fill the space with performative connection instead. You'd rather have 10 shallow interactions that drain you than one real friendship that actually asks something of you. I want you to actually think about your own life for a second, not your followers, not your group chats. Who would you call if your car broke down at midnight in a bad part of town? Who would sit with you in a hospital waiting room for 6 hours and not check their phone once? And if a name came to mind immediately, you're doing better than most people your age. But if you had to think about it for a while, or if the name that came up was your mom, that's worth sitting with. That's not a judgment, it's just data. There's another piece to this that I think people avoid talking about, and it's that a lot of us have started treating friendship like a transaction instead of a relationship. So we keep mental ledger. Did they text me back fast enough? Did they show up for my thing after I showed up for theirs? Are they giving me enough attention on my post to justify the attention I'm giving theirs? Real friendship was never supposed to run on a ledger. It runs on time and consistency and actually being uncomfortable for someone every once in a while, showing up to help someone move on a Saturday when you'd rather sleep in, or sitting on the phone with someone crying about a breakup for 2 hours when you have work in the morning. That's the tax you pay for a real friendship. And a lot of people stop paying it because it's inconvenient and there's a cheaper substitute sitting in their pocket. So why do you have no real friends? It's not because you're broken, and it's not because there's something fundamentally unlikable about you. It's because you've been optimizing for likable instead of honest. And those two things pull in opposite directions. Being likable means smoothing yourself out and agreeing more than you disagree, and hiding the parts of your life that feel embarrassing or unresolved. Being honest means showing someone the parts of you that aren't finished yet and trusting that they'll stick around anyway. And true friendship was never about finding someone who likes your highlight reel. It's about finding someone willing to sit with the boring, difficult, unfinished reality of your life and stay there with you. And look, I'm not saying delete your phone and move to a cabin. I use these apps too, and I built an entire channel using them. The tool isn't the enemy here. The problem is we let the tool replace the thing it was supposed to be a bridge to. Texting was supposed to be the thing that helps you set up plans to see someone in person, and instead, it became the whole relationship. So we text people happy birthday instead of calling, and we send a fire emoji under a photo instead of asking someone how they're actually doing. And we mistake low effort acknowledgement for real presence. And the gap between the two of those things is where loneliness lives. So, how do you actually fix this? I don't think the answer is complicated. I just think it's uncomfortable, and that's why most people don't do it. First, pick one person you've drifted from and call them, not text, call, because a voice on the other end of a phone does something a text thread never will. Second, start showing up to things in person, even when it's inconvenient. The dinner you don't feel like going to, the game night, the birthday you could easily skip. Boring, mildly inconvenient hours are the 200 hours Hall was talking about, and there's no shortcut around them. Third, stop keeping score. Be the one who texts first. Be the one who shows up without being asked, and be honest instead of easy to be around. Because somebody has to go first in every real friendship, and it might as well be you. And if someone walks away, the moment you stop performing for them, let them, because they weren't a friend, they were part of your audience. And there's a real difference between the two, even though both can feel similar from a distance. I think the loneliness so many people are feeling right now isn't really about not knowing enough people. It's about not spending real time with the people they already know. And you probably have 2 or 3 people in your life right now who would become a real friend if you just gave them the hours and the honesty. The unread messages will still be there tomorrow, and the group chat will survive without you for one night. So go call somebody instead. That's it for today's video. And if this hit something for you, let me know in the comments who came to mind when I asked who you'd call at midnight. And go call them this week. Not next month, this week.